Hello friends, in this lecture we will know about a very important concept of constraint. So in Catia we have two types of constraint. One is called geometric constraint and the second is called dimensional constraint. So geometric constraints are those constraints that are related to the geometry of the sketch. So these constraints are horizontal, vertical, parallelism, perpendicularity, etc. While the dimensional constraints are that are related to the dimensions. Just like we insert dimensions in the sketches, so it is like a constraint. So in this lecture, we will know about geometric constraints. So again in Catia, we have two types of geometric constraints. One is manual constraint and the second is auto constraint. So manual constraint are those constraints that we insert manually, and auto constraints are automatic constraints that are created by the software itself. So first of all, we will have to know what are constraints. So a geometric constraint is a relationship that forces a limitation between one or more geometric element. So we have geometric element just like we have line, circle, rectangle, etc. So we restrict the motion or we provide a restriction or limitation on that sketch. That is called geometric constraint. So for example, if we want to make two lines parallel, we select the lines and then we will insert the parallel constraint. So that is called constraint. So in this table, we have explained different type of constraint. On the left side, we have number of element and on the right side, we have geometric constraint. So if we have one element, like we have a one single line, so on that single element, we can apply these constraint. We can fix it, we can make it horizontal or we can make it vertical. And if we have two elements, like we have two lines or we have a circle and a line, in that case, we can apply these constraints: coincidence, concentricity, tangency, parallelism, midpoint and perpendicularity. And if we have three elements, we can insert symmetry or we can make them equidistance. So these are some of the examples of constraints. So in this example, we have some constraints that are explained. So we are going to start with this parallel. We have two horizontal lines. This is first line and this is the second line. So we can see these two lines are parallel to each other. So it is specifying that these two lines are parallel. And we can see the symbol of parallel here. Similarly, we can see we have two circles. These two circles are concentric with respect to each other. What is meant by concentricity? So two circles are concentric when they have common center. So these two circles have common center. And we can see the symbol of concentricity that is represented by the symbol. Similarly, we can see we have a line and we have a circle. So the line and circle are touching each other. So this property is called tangency. So it is showing that these lines and circle are tangent to each other. And we can see the symbol of tangency. So similarly, coincidence means when two elements touch each other. So we can see these two lines are touching each other. So this is called coincidence. On the left side, we can see we have this horizontal line and then we have this vertical line. And these two lines are perpendicular to each other. It means the angle between these two lines is 90 degrees. So this property is called perpendicularity. And it is represented by the symbol perpendicular. So this is an example of geometric constraint. And now we are going to Catia software and we will know how to insert these constraints into the sketches. Hello friends, in this lecture we will continue with geometric constraint. So in the previous lecture we had learned what are constraints and now we are going to learn how to insert those constraints in the Catia software. So right now we are in the sketch mode and we can see the option of geometric constraint on the slide side in the constraint toolbar. This is the option of constraint defined in the dialog box. So we can insert the constraint using this option. And right now we can see this option is hidden. It means first we have to create some sketch. Only then we can apply this constraint. Below this we have option of dimensional constraint. By this option we insert the dimensions in the sketches. So first of all I am going to start with some basic sketches. So I go to the line tool. Let's drag this. And then I go to line tool. Click on this line. Pick this and drag it to the top part. And then I select first point. And when I drag the mouse and when I take the mouse to the vertical side, we can see right now the line is blue. It means it is a vertical line. So this is called auto constraining or automatic constraint, that is automatically applied by the software. Similarly, when I take it to the horizontal direction, we can again see the symbol of blue. It means the software is trying to apply constraint into this. So we are going to cover this automatic constraint later after this manual constraint. So let's say I select this point and click here. And then I want to make this line horizontal or vertical. So how can we make this? I just select this line and then now we can see the constraint option is highlighting. So I select this constraint defined in a dialog box. Click on this. In this dialog box, these are all the options that are highlighting that are possible into this line. We can apply a length or value of length. We can fix it. We can select horizontal or we can also make it vertical. So let's make it horizontal. So I make a check on this option of horizontal and now we can see in the preview this line has been converted into a horizontal line. And then I click OK. I pick this and drag it. And now we can have a better preview of this line. So I undo this. And then once again, the line is selected. Click on this constraint. And then I can also make it vertical. So I click on this option of vertical and click OK. And now we can see this line is now vertical. So this is the first basic way of inserting the constraint. So now what I do, I undo this and now I try to pick this endpoint. So pick this endpoint, take the mouse onto this endpoint and try to drag it. We can see we can drag this point. I can reduce the length of this line. I can also increase it with this mouse. I can also make some changes into the angle. Similarly, when I take the mouse onto this endpoint, just hold down the left click and drag the mouse. We can see we can drag this line from the bottom point also. So it means this line is right now not fixed. This line is not constrained. That we can change its location and we can also change the length. So to make it constrained, I select this line and go to this option of constraint. First thing I can do, I can fix the length of this line. So when I fix this, I make a check on this length. So right now it is showing that this constraint is temporary. So I make a OK on this and click OK. I insert the dimension into this. So pick this constraint option, select this line and click OK. And then make a double click on this. Suppose I insert this value 15 and press enter. Now I have fixed the length of this line. So I pick this. Now we can see I cannot change the length of this line. Okay, so this line is complete moving, but I cannot change its length. So this is called constraining with respect to dimension. So right now we can see this line is complete moving. So if we want to fix this line, I pick this option of constraint and then I select this option of fix. Click on fix. We can see the length option is also fixed. So I click OK. So now when I pick this line, I cannot change the angle. Okay, so we can see the symbol of fix here. That is called fixing. So that is the first basic way of applying the constraint. So now we are going to apply this constraint in more sketches. So I undo this option. So this time I draw a circle. So go to circle tool and click on the circle and draw a circle like this. Okay, draw the circle of any radius. Let's zoom in onto the circle and then click on the circle and go to constraint option. So I can fix this radius. So click on this radius option. Make a check on this radius. Click OK and then click OK. So by this way we cannot change the value of its radius. Now I draw another circle. So once again I go to circle tool and draw second circle. So we have these two circles. Now I want to make these two circles concentric with respect to each other. It means I want to make their center common. So I select both circles. First circle, hold down the control key and select the second circle and click on this option of constraint. And now we can see all these options are highlighting that we can apply into this. We can fix it, we can apply constraint, we can make them tangent, and then we can make them coincident, and then we can make them concentric. So I make a check on this option of concentric and click OK. And now we can see these two circles are concentric. So this bigger circle has moved to the center of this smaller circle. So what if we want to reverse this? I want to move the smaller circle. So I make a undo. Both circles are selected. Click on this constraint option. What I do is, okay, let's cancel this. Once again click on this. So I want to select only this bigger circle and then click on constraint. First we will have to fix this. I fix this bigger circle and click OK. Now the position of the circle will not be changed. And then I select both circles. Hold down the control key and select both circles and click constraint and apply concentricity and click OK. And now we can see we have moved the smaller circle. So in this way we can apply the concentricity. So once again I undo this. Once again constraint. So we can make them tangent with respect to each other. So tangent means two entities touching each other. So make a click on this tangent and click OK. Now we can see these two circles are touching each other. Similarly, I can also make this line touching this circle. It means these two are tangent to each other. So select the circle, hold down the control key and select this line and click constraint. Click on this tangency and click OK. And now we can see this line and this circle are tangent with respect to each other. So let's pan this. And let's say I draw a line. This is first line and then this is the second line. And I want to make these two lines parallel with respect to each other. So I select this first line, select this second line, make sure we hold down the control key and then constraint. I can make these two parallel, perpendicular, horizontal, vertical, etc. So I want to make them parallel. So make a check on this parallel and click OK. And now we can see these two lines are parallel with respect to each other. So let's pan this. Okay, now we can see this line and this line are parallel. And we can also see the symbol of parallel. This symbol is representing the parallelism. So I fit this and then select this complete and press the delete key. And then once again I draw this first line and then another line. Okay, so I want to make these two lines perpendicular with respect to each other. For this, select this first line, hold down the control key and select the second line and then select this option of constraint and then click on perpendicular and click OK. And now we can see these two lines are perpendicular. But since we have not applied any coincidence, so these two lines are not touching each other. but their angle we can see it is 90 degree. And we can see this is representing by this right angle symbol. So this symbol represents perpendicularity. So we can make these two lines touch with respect to each other. Select this first line and second line. It means we can also apply multiple constraints into the same sketches. We have already applied perpendicular, so we can also make them coincident. Hello friends, in this lecture we will continue with constraint and we will know about symmetry. So as the name suggests, symmetry means equal distance from a reference. So to understand this, I click on this fit view first and then I draw a rectangle. So click on this rectangle, pick this, and I draw a rectangle like this from this point up to this point. Okay, like this. So I want to make this rectangle symmetric with respect to this vertical axis and this horizontal axis. So to make it symmetric, we have to use the symmetric constraint. So it is really important type of constraint. So to apply the symmetric constraint, we need three references, as we have discussed earlier. So to select the three references, suppose I want to make this rectangle symmetric with respect to vertical axis. So this is the cutting axis. It means we have to cut this horizontal line. Okay, so to cut this, we need to select the vertical references. How to select these references? We have to hold down the control key, select this first vertical line, and then select the second vertical line. And then we have to select the reference. So reference is this vertical axis. Okay, so all these three lines should be in the same plane. And then we have to go to this constraint dialog box. In this right now we can see symmetry option is highlighting. So make a check on this. And now we can see the effect of symmetry. So I make a click on this. So now this rectangle is symmetric with respect to this vertical line. So the distance of this vertical line, left vertical line from this axis is equal to the distance from this right vertical line. So to see the effect of this, I make a undo of this. And right now we can see the position of this rectangle. So the distance is lesser on the left side and it is higher on the right side. When I redo this, and now we can see it is now equidistance. So when I change the length of this rectangle, I select this line, click on this dimension. It is now 30. So let's change this. Make a double click on this. So I make it 20 and press enter. And once again we can see this rectangle is symmetric with respect to vertical axis. So that is the advantage of making it symmetric. Similarly, I want to make this symmetric with respect to horizontal axis. So for this, hold down the control key, select this first line, the second line, and then select this axis. Click on this constraint and then make it symmetric and click OK. So now we can see this rectangle is symmetric with respect to this horizontal axis. So to check it, I click on this line, insert the dimension, and then make a double click on this. So I make it 15 and click OK. So now we can see the distance is equal. So that is called symmetric constraint. Hello friends, till now in this course we had learned about geometric constraint. So we had learned how to apply manual constraint into the sketches. In this video we will learn how automatic constraints are applied into the sketches. So automatic constraints are applied by the software itself. So to understand this, let's draw some sketches. So I go to this rectangle tool, click on this rectangle and draw this basic type of rectangle. Select this, select a first point and select a second point. So our rectangle is drawn. In this rectangle, we can see the symbol of H and V. Similarly, here we can see H and V. So this H represents that this line is horizontal, and this vertical V represent that this line is vertical. So these constraints are automatically applied by the software because we have not applied them manually. So what is the advantage of this? When I pick this line, when I pick this point and try to drag it, because we have not inserted any dimension, so we can drag it. So pick this point, hold down the left click of the mouse and drag the mouse. We can see we can increase or decrease the length of this rectangle, but we cannot rotate this. If I try to rotate it, it will not rotate. It means these lines are constrained. We cannot change their orientation. Whatever change I want to make, they will always be horizontal and vertical. So this is called auto constraining. So if we want to delete this constraint, just take the mouse onto this constraint, okay, and then make a right click on this and delete them. Right now we can see it is deleted. So I try to pick this line and drag it. Now we can see we can change this angle. So that is how automatic constraint work. So let's go to some more examples. As we have discussed earlier, when I take the line command and draw a line like this, so when I try to make this line straight, we can see this blue symbol. It means it is vertical because we can see the angle will be turned to 90 degree here. So this is vertical. When this angle will be 0, like this time the angle is 0, it is horizontal. Okay, so when I click here, we can see the symbol of H. So this H is horizontal. In the similar way, we can insert more constraint. If I try to draw a circle like this, select this first circle, and then I will draw another circle. So I select this point and try to draw the circle. So when I try to increase the size of this circle, we can see the software has automatically taken some references. In the bottom side we can see a blue line has been appeared. So this blue line is showing the symbol of tangency. So this circle is now tangent along the axis of this horizontal line. Okay, so let's reduce the size, and now we can see this blue extending line. So software is automatically try to insert the constraint into this. So if we don't want this, just drag the circle once again. So now it is showing no constraint. So when I take this circle with respect to this circle, okay, like this, and now we can see, okay, let's see from this view. I try to zoom in onto this to have a better view. Okay, so now when I drag it, we can see the symbol of tangency here. So now at this point, these two circles are tangent with respect to each other. And now we can see the second circle has been turned into orange. It means its reference has been taken. I click here, and now we can see this. These two lines are tangent. We can see also the symbol here. Okay, so once again automatic tangency is applied. In the similar way, we can also make two lines parallel with respect to each other. So I pen in here. I draw a line like this, draw a line, and once again I draw a second line. Okay, so let's try to change its orientation. Rotate it, and then at this point, at some point, now at this point we can see a symbol has appeared in the blue color. That symbol is called parallelism. So at this point these two lines are parallel with respect to each other. Okay, so I click here, and these two lines are parallel. Similarly, we can also make lines tangent. We can insert the symmetry by using the automatic constraint. So automatic constraint is really important because it saves our time. Instead of inserting the constraint manually, we can use this automatic option to reduce our time of sketching. So when we cover up some more examples of drawing the sketches, we will learn about these constraints in more depth. Hello friends, in this lecture we will continue with constraints and we will know about dimensional constraint. we will know how to insert dimensions into the sketches. So right now we are in the sketch mode. In this sketch mode, let's go to the rectangle tool. I go to this rectangle. So before going to this tool, we can see this window of sketch tool. In this sketch tool window, so let me place it. Pick this window, hold down the left click and drag it. I place it here. So in this window, we can find two options. One is geometric constraint and the second is dimensional constraint. Similarly, we can find these types of options in the bottom. We have geometric constraint and we have dimensional constraint. So when these options are not checked, right now we can see these options are not checked. So when I select them, they will turn into orange color. Similarly, this dimensional. So right now we can see these two are turned on. So now I go to this rectangle tool and draw a rectangle like this. So I pick the first point and then pick the second point. So in this rectangle, we can see automatic constraints are applied. These constraints are applied because this option is checked. And similarly, software has inserted some random dimensions because this option is also checked. So if I pick this point, hold down the left click of the mouse, take the mouse to this point and then hold down the left click and try to drag the mouse. We can see the rectangle is horizontal and vertical. So now undo this option and then I make a uncheck on this option of geometric constraint and then make a uncheck on this dimensional constraint. And then I go to rectangle once again, pick this first point and pick the second point. And this time we can see automatic constraints has not been applied. There is no symbol of vertical and horizontal. So if I pick this point, hold down the left click and try to drag it, you can see we can rotate this. So this is automatic constraining. So we can also pick this point and try to drag it. So now I undo this option and now we will know how to insert dimensions into the sketches. So I have this rectangle and I want to insert dimensions into this. So as we know, rectangle is defined by this horizontal and vertical dimensions, width and height. So to insert the dimensions, we can go to this option of constraint. Click on this option of constraint. And now we have to select an element of which we want to do the dimension. So I pick this line, click this line, and now we can see the dimension. So now we have to place it. When I drag the mouse up and down, we can see the arrow of dimensioning is changing. When I drag the mouse in left and right, we can see the location of value is changing. So in this way, by dragging the mouse, we can place this dimension. I place it. So this dimension 15.631 is the random dimension that is applied by the software. These types of dimensions are called weak dimensions. Once again, I go to this constraint option and now we can also insert this vertical. So pick this line and place the dimension. And again, it is a weak dimension because it is applied by the software. So if we want to change this dimension, we just have to make a double click on this. So make a double click. Another window will open. In this window, we have option of inserting the value. So suppose I insert this value 10 and then we have option of making it as a reference dimension. So when we select this as a reference, all the dimensions will be measured with respect to this. So the reference option is very helpful for the manufacturing purpose. So right now I am not making a check on this. And then we have option of more. So if I click on this more, it will show some more options like supporting element. Okay, so I'm clicking on this less and then click OK. And now in this way we can see we have inserted the dimension. And now this dimension has been turned into dark green. We can see. So this dark green means this is a strong dimension. So now I make a double click on this horizontal dimension. I insert this value 15 and then click OK. And then click somewhere outside. Once again we can see this is a strong dimension. So in this way we can insert the dimensions. So now when I pick the point, hold down the left click and pick this point, we can see the value of these dimensions is not changing because we have not provided the length of other dimensions. So that is why all these lengths are changing, but these two lengths are not changing. So that is the difference between weak and strong dimension. Weak dimension tends to change, but strong dimension does not. Okay, so let's place it like this, or we can make a undo on this, undo this. And then we can also insert the angular dimensions. So I go to constraint, and now suppose I want to select this dimension between this point and this point. To insert this dimension, hold down the control key from the keyboard, select this point and then select this point, and then place this dimension. Suppose I place it here and then pan it like this. In this way we can insert the incline dimension. Okay, so I undo this. In the similar way we can also insert the angular dimensions. To insert the angular dimension, I draw a line. So draw a line like this from this end point up to this end point. And now I want to find out the angle between this line and this inclined line. For this, I go to constraint option, hold down the control key, select this first line and then select the second line. And then we have to place this dimension. Place it and then make a double click on this if we want to change this value, and then go to more option. So in this more option it is showing supporting element. So we can see it is supported by line 1 and then line 5. The status is showing that these lines are connected. We can insert some name to this dimension, and then we can also select from this option angular bisector. So when I change this option, we have sector 1, 2, 3, 4. I select this sector 2. It will select the dimension for this sector. Similarly, I can select sector 3, sector 4 according to our requirement. Right now I am taking sector 1 and then click OK. So I select all this and then press the delete key. I once again draw a circle like this, pick a circle and draw it. And now I want to measure this dimension. So go to constraint, pick this circle, pick this perimeter of the circle and then place this dimension. Now circle can be represented either by diameter or by radius. So make a double click on this dimension, and then in this dialog window we have option for making it as a radius or diameter. So I am specifying this by diameter, insert this value 10 and then click OK. Similarly, I draw another circle like this. So now we have two circles. Let's pan this. And then I want to find out the distance between their center. So for this, I go to constraint option, hold down the control key because we are selecting more than one element. So select the center and then select the second center. And now we can place this dimension. Now what if we want to place this dimension either horizontally or vertically? For this we have option. So make a undo on this, undo. Once again I go to constraint option. And now select the center, hold down the control key, select the second center. And then instead of placing this dimension, make a right click here. In this we have option of horizontal measure direction or vertical measure direction. Suppose I select this horizontal measure direction and place it. Now this dimension is measured horizontally. In the similar way we can insert the vertical dimension. So now we can make a change into this. Just make a double click. Insert this value 15 and press enter. So in this way we can insert the dimensions into the sketches. So this type of inserting the dimension is called manual dimensioning. In Catia we have one more option of dimensioning, that is called automatic dimensioning. So in the bottom side we have discussed about these two options, that is geometric constraint and then that is dimensional constraint. So when I turn off this option, we can see all the dimensions are hidden, and when I make a check on this, all the dimensions are showing. So this option is used for hide and show. Similarly, it is for geometric constraint. It is used for hide and show the geometric constraint. Hello friends, in the previous lecture we had learned how to manually insert the dimensions into the sketches. So in this video we will learn how to automatically insert the dimensions into the sketches. For this we have option of auto constraining in the Catia. So first of all we will have to go to the sketch mode. So we have to select a plane. Suppose I select this XY plane, and we can find this option of auto constraint. I go to this constraint panel, click on this arrow, and we can find this option of auto constraint. So to use this option we need to draw some sketches. Let's suppose I go to this rectangle tool, and before this I make a check on this geometric constraint, and then I draw some rectangle. So draw a rectangle like this of any dimensions, and then let's pan this and then pick this. I insert a circle, so go to circle tool, and then I want to draw a circle at the midpoint of this line. To snap the midpoint of this line, what I can do is take the mouse onto this line, make a right click, and then we can select this option of midpoint. So select this midpoint, and it will automatically select the center as a midpoint, and then draw the circle. So we can draw the circle of any radius. Suppose I click here, and then we want to trim this inside line. So I go to this trim option, click on this trim and delete this inside line. Make a yes on this. So in this way we have drawn the sketches. Now I want to insert dimensions into this sketch. One option is that we can manually insert the dimensions, but if we have any complex sketch, in the sketch where we have many elements, so in these types of situation, to reduce the time, we use the auto constraint option. So go to this option of auto constraint, click on this. In this window, multiple options are highlighting. First option is elements to be constrained. Second is reference element, and the third is symmetry lines. So right now in this sketch we don't want any dimension with respect to symmetry. So I am not making any selection into this. And then reference element. So reference element will be the element from where we want to select the dimensions. So right now I am not selecting any reference element. So I am just selecting this element to be constrained. So go to this graphic mode and then hold down the left click and draw a rectangle. In this selection rectangle, insert all the elements and then click OK. And now all the possible dimensions will be highlighted into the sketch. So now we just have to properly position these dimensions. So pick this dimension and drag it. Okay, let's drag it like this. Similarly, pick this and try to drag it. Once again we can drag it. Okay. So in this way we can insert the dimensions. So if we want to make some changes into these dimensions, just make a double click and then change the value. So that is the way of inserting the automatic dimensions. So I undo this option and then once again go to this auto constraint. In this auto constraint we have reference element. So I select this complete elements, also this rectangle, also this circle, and then I select reference element. So click on this dialog window, and then suppose the reference element I select this vertical line, and then click OK. So now all the dimensions will be measured with respect to this line. So this is really helpful when we have a complex sketch. Right now this sketch is very simple and we don't have any more element. So in this way we can insert the automatic dimensions. Hello friends, in this lecture we will know about what are over constraint sketches. So many times it happens that we insert more than required dimensions in the sketches. That is the condition of over constraint. It means we have inserted more than required dimensions. So in many sketches, the user will specify more than the minimum required number of dimensions or constraint. In certain cases, the system will ignore the redundant constraint and solve the sketch. In other cases, it will mark parts of the sketches over constraint. So when we insert more than the required dimensions, sometimes the software will try to automatically solve the sketch. But sometimes it could not solve this sketch, and the software defines this type of sketch as over constraint sketch. And now the question arises, how can we solve this? How can we solve the problem of over constraint? So there are some methods to resolve the over constraint problem. Like we can set the dimensions as a reference dimension. Generally it is not preferred. Deactivate or remove constraint, or unfix the geometry. So the second option, deactivate or remove constraint, is the most preferred option. So now we will go to the Catia software and we will learn in more depth about this concept of over constraint. So let's go to the software. So right now we are in the sketch mode. I am going to draw a rectangle. So click on this rectangle tool and draw a rectangle like this. Draw this rectangle of any dimension. Okay. So now in this rectangle, as we know, the constraints are already defined. Like this is horizontal and vertical. And this rectangle can be defined by two dimensions. So we can define this rectangle by width and height. So now let's go to this dimension tool, constraint. Define this dimension, horizontal dimension, that is width. And then insert a vertical dimension. Okay. So now this sketch is properly defined. A rectangle can be defined by these constraints. So we have properly applied the geometric constraint and dimensional constraint. And now we are going to insert one more dimension into this. So let's go to constraint. Select this endpoint, first endpoint, and then select this opposite endpoint. So we are going to insert the value of diagonal. So select the second point, and now we can see the dimensions has been turned into purple. So let's place this. So this purple color means that our sketch is over defined. So let's undo this. So click on this option of undo. Right now we can see the dimensions are specified in the green color, and here also it is green color. So let's redo this by clicking on this option of redo, and now dimensions are purple. So it means our sketch is over defined. So how can we check whether our sketch is over defined or not? So there is an option for this in Catia. If we go to the bottom, we can find this one option that is called sketch solving status. So click on this option. In this status window, it is showing over constraint. So our sketch is over constraint. So click on this option of sketch analysis. So now the software is trying to perform the sketch analysis. And in this analysis, software has found out that these constraints are over constraint. So we have point 1, this point 1 is geometric constraint, and this point 1 is geometry, and it is over constraint. So we can select line 1, line 2, etc. So let's click on this option of hide constraint, or we can select this first option, hide constraint. Okay, so we can select this option. Now it is showing over constraint, over constraint. Under constraint means when a sketch has lesser number of dimensions that are required. And once again we can select this hide construction geometry. Okay, so we can select any of the option. And so now the question arises, how to choose which dimension to delete or not. Okay, so let's once again go to the sketch status. So all these blue color dimensions are over constraint. And now we need to delete any of this dimension. So let's go to this sketch mode. And then I pick this dimension of horizontal, make a right click on this and click on delete. And now we can see the dimensions has been changed to this green color. It means sketch is now properly defined, or we can call it ISO defined or ISO constraint. In the similar way, we can also delete the geometric constraint. So in this sketch, we can see it is now vertical and horizontal. So I select this vertical dimension, make a right click on this and delete it. And now we can insert the second dimension. Before this, I want to also delete this horizontal. So select this horizontal, make a right click and delete. And then insert the second dimension, constraint, select this dimension and click OK. And now we can see it is in green color. It means the sketch is properly defined because we have deleted the geometric constraint. So in this way, to solve the problem of over constraint, we need to delete the geometric constraint or the dimensional constraint. So which one to delete is decided by the designer.